a viewer reach out to me and ask me if it's okay that her agent did not show her a home because it was not paying out a buyer broker commission. She found out that this home went under contract and sold without her actually writing an offer on it because it was a model home in a new home development. So she had already been in this home 3 times. At the time it wasn't for sale, and then when it went on the market, her agent did not email her the listing. So she reached out to him and asked him why he didn't send it to her, and he gave her a bunch of really lame excuses. And so she was reaching out to me asking, is this okay for her agent if there was no commission being paid for him not to show her the home? So let's get into it. So basically what it sounded like is that the buyers had been into this new home development and did not register their agent as their buyer broker. So I wanted to find out the situation. So I called the viewer and I talked it through with her. And I asked her, had she signed anything with the development when she went in there for the first time? Did they know that she actually had an agent? And she said, well, I told them on the phone. She said, and it was kind of odd because it was the only place that we didn't have to fill out a big form. And I said, well, that is the reason that he would not make a commission if you bought one of those homes. Now, there's a lot more to this, a lot more questions that I really asked. Here's the thing. When you go into a new home development, these builders don't want you to bring a real estate agent because they don't want to pay the commission because they do a lot of advertising on their own. So they don't always need buyer agents to represent the buyers when they come into the homes. A lot of times they're not negotiating on anything. So they really don't feel necessary to negotiate with a buyer's agent. With that being said, many home developers do pay out a buyer broker commission. The problem is that if you contact that development without first stating and writing and probably filling out a big form, and sometimes you have to actually bring your agent with you on that first meeting, they will not pay your agent. No way. This happened to me too, where a home developer will not pay out the agent if it is not really put out front. So she was probably correct that her agent was not going to get paid. Now then I said, well, it doesn't seem like he would omit listings to you because generally buyer brokers will set up buyers on a search. And the reason is because there is a lot that we may miss if we're just going through and hand picking listings that may or may not come on the market. So I said, well, that doesn't make sense. Weren't you set up just on a search where you would have seen it and then you could have asked him to go and see it? And she said, well, he was only sending us listings every 7 to 10 days. You do not want an agent to pick and choose the homes that you should be going to see. What you want is you want to be set up on a full search for everything in that area, in that price point that you might be interested in. Because you don't want your agent to be the one who's deciding which homes you get to see are on the market. Now, she might have been able to go on Zillow and see it, but she relied on a real estate agent, and he was picking and choosing every 7 to 10 days. If you're an active buyer in the market, you want to be getting your listings sent to you every single day, at least every day. And sometimes I set my buyers up to get them instantly, which means the moment they go on the market, you are getting it. Now, you're going to say, well, why are agents getting paid then if they're not picking them out? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting all of them. And then what happens is the buyer agent should go into all of those listings and look to see which ones are the best. What are the homes that could work for them that they may not be pointing out? So obviously this agent was just picking and choosing a few of the homes that were best for them. So her assessment was probably correct. Now, when she did talk to him about it, he kind of said, oh, this home wasn't for you. All these things were wrong with it. And she's like, well, that's not true. And that's not the point. The point is that she did not know that was on the market and he did not show it to her. So the question becomes, was that ethical for him to not show her the home based upon commission? So then my next question was, did you sign an agreement with him? And she said, well, we were getting ready to list our home and he gave us all these documents back in November and we, never signed them. And, so I don't know, it might've been in there, but we didn't sign anything. And I said, okay, well, you didn't sign anything. So, is he really responsible for showing you every single home? No. Yes and no is really the answer. So no, you don't have an agreement. He has no duty to you at that point. When you get into the technical nitty-gritty of NAR and the Code of Ethics and things like that, I'm saying technically there was no technical agreement there. However, he was acting as your broker. And so therefore he did have a duty to talk to you about the fact that he was not going to get paid a buyer broker commission on this. That is really his duty. That was his ethical responsibility, but he didn't do that. And that's also the problem. So now with all the new rules in place, this situation won't happen again. This won't happen again. And the reason is because every buyer who goes to look at any home Any home will have to sign an agreement with the agent. This means if you literally are going on Zillow, and if you go and click on this and you say, I want to see this home, you are literally going to have to sign an agreement that says how much you are going to pay to the buyer agent for showing you that home if the seller is not paying out a commission. So, I mean, there are huge ramifications for this. The whole industry is going to change. So was he required to show you the home if he was not getting paid? If you had a buyer's agreement, no, he's not required to show you the home if he's not getting paid. However, with the correct buyer's agreement, she would have stated that they were going to pay 2.5%, 3%, whatever it is, in order for him to show them the home. That's what they would have agreed upon ahead of time. And so the whole problem with this whole conversation is the agent did not talk to her about this ahead of time. The agent was not upfront. The agent was not ethical about this. Was he technically required to show her a home that he was not getting paid a commission on? No, but he did have a duty to at least tell her, I know we don't have a buyer agreement. We didn't agree on this ahead of time, but if you buy one of these homes, I'm not going to get paid. So now when I'm talking to her about this agent, I said, so what do you think? Do you still think you should use him? And she said, well, he's well known in the community and he knows a lot of people and we're afraid that he's going to blackball us and blackball our house because he's not going to get our listing, and then we're not going to be able to find anything. And I thought, oh no, this is not a good conversation. Not because of what she's saying, but because of the perception that could be happening. And the problem with our industry is there are a lot of bad agents out there. I mean, truly a lot of bad agents. However, I rarely see that. I rarely see an agent bad-mouthing a seller because they did not choose them to list their house. I mean, there have been many times that I have taken listings and lost listings and buyers for other agents. Now, do we talk to the other agents about the buyers or the sellers? Absolutely not, because it's not appropriate. First of all, ethically, it's not appropriate. Second of all, I don't want other agents knowing my business. And so I don't talk about that. So the reality is the agent probably won't say much. The agent's going to be embarrassed, of course, and all the other agents will know if you've been out to these homes with this agent that you're not using him anymore. So yes, that could be embarrassing to him, but I don't care. I mean, the point is this guy acted inappropriately, unethically, and you lost out on the home that you wanted because he was not willing to be truthful and honest with you, and he put his commission ahead of you. Now, everybody knows what I talk about when I'm talking about agents is you need to find an agent who puts you ahead of their commission. You need to find an agent that's willing to walk away from their commission. This agent should have stood up and said, I'm not going to get paid a commission on this, but I know this is the house that you really want. So if you're willing to pay me, I am willing to work with the builder on this and get you to closing. And also she might have been willing to pay him because he'd already done a lot of work in showing her homes, but he wasn't ethical about it. He was putting his commission first. She had told him when he came in for a listing presentation that she really liked him and they weren't going to interview anybody else because they had used him before. Now that is the kiss of death. You definitely want to make sure that you are talking to 2 to 3 agents for sure. Anything over 3 is kind of just exhausting. I don't always recommend that. But 3 solid agents in your community who have done a lot of transactions, it gives you the idea on where the pricing should be. It gets you the idea on what type of person they are, things like that. So, I said, well, you shouldn't have told them, that you were only interviewing 1 agent. She said, I know that now. I said, well, I really still think you need to talk to another couple of agents. And I think you need to see what they have to say. And she said, well, I don't know who I'd talk to. I said, I can help you with that. And I went and I looked up who we'd refer in her community. And the first agent's name I told her, she said, oh my gosh, that agent, she's such a bulldog. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, there's some agents who have personalities that you're kind of like, I don't want to work with that personality, and that's fine. She said, well, she was such a bulldog when we went in with our agent and saw one of her listings. Our agent seemed afraid of her. I said, your agent seemed afraid of her. And that's the reason that you wouldn't use her, because your agent seemed afraid of her? I mean, I would think that that agent then would be a very strong negotiator, very tough, very confident, knows what they're talking about. Your agent should never be intimidated or afraid of another agent. If they are, that is a red flag. Like, that's a serious red flag, because when it comes time to negotiate, they're not going to be able to stand up for you. They're not going to be able to make you more money. They're not going to be able to get you to pay less money when you're going to buy. So you want an agent, not necessarily that has a mean persona, but you want somebody who's confident, somebody who's willing to put out and say what is right. So now this buyer is worried about her reputation in the community because they have seen a lot of other agents when they've gone in and toured homes. And I said, it doesn't matter. You need to think about yourself. You need to think about your future. You need to think about where you want to live in your life, your money, everything. And so many people are choosing agents just because maybe they play tennis with them, or, a friend recommended them, or they just see their signs around town. But how do you know that person is real and true? How do you know that person is honest? How do you know that person is going to be able to put you over their commission? So we referred a seller to 3 agents, and this situation was crazy. One of the agents who we referred to reached back out to me and said, well, the seller told me that you referred them 3 agents. And I was like, yeah, we tell our viewers that they need to talk to 3 agents, and we find who we think are the best agents, not necessarily the top agents in the community, but the strongest agents based on what the seller is looking for. And I said to him, yes, we did. I said, because our viewers are very educated and they know how to find the right agents. And while I may know who's selling a lot, I don't know what your personality is like. I don't know how you're going to respond. I don't know if you're too busy and maybe you're going to forget to follow up. I don't know any of that. So that's why we refer 3 who we think are the top, with the top experience, top transactions and experience, but it's not always the very, very top person. We look at that social media. We're vetting them out. We're looking at their listings. So we found him because he was one of the top agents in the specific area and felt comfortable with his marketing. But then he responded to me, and he was so rude in his response for the fact that I referred 3 agents. He said he wasn't impressed with me. And I said, well, okay. I said, well, I'm not impressed with you for literally insulting a person who just referred you a seller. I will make sure the seller chooses not to use you. So I emailed the seller and I said, I do not like the way this agent responded. We can find you another agent. That is what I can't tell exactly that's going to happen. So you need to interview these agents and see, what do you think of their personality? What do you think of, what they're saying to you, their strategy, their structure? And you need to find that agent who's willing to walk away from their commission. Any agent who is willing to walk away from their commission is an agent that you can probably trust. I can tell you, this agent with this viewer was not willing to walk away from his commission, and he put himself above them. And that is not the type of agent that you should be using. That agent affected their lives for the future. So now I asked her, are you still going to use this agent? And she said, I don't know. Would you?